everyone, welcome to the Coding Channel. Today is the 10th episode of our Python tutorial series for beginners. And in this episode, we are going to talk about how to build an alphabet pattern programs in Python. This and more after a short while. In our previous episode, we've talked about how to build a number pattern in Python. Okay, just like this one. Okay, this is just one of the example that we did in our previous episode, right? And then we've used the nested while to make it possible. Now, in this episode, we are going to display not the number, but we will change it to an alphabet. Now, how are we going to display this time a pattern in alphabet format? Okay, the first thing that we need to learn is first we need to know the ASCII code equivalent of the particular letter. So, for example, the lowercase a or the uppercase a. Okay, and in Python there is a built-in method that could help us to make it possible. Okay, and that one is the ORD function. Okay, so the syntax is just like this. Just type the ORD and then the letter that you want. For example, I have here the uppercase B or the capital B. Okay, and then I will just assign the value to a letter. So what do you think is the data type of a letter variable after this assignment statement? Okay, the letter is an integer type. Okay, why? Because the functionality of ORD here, it convert the or it gets the ASCII code equivalent of B, of uppercase B, and will assign that value to letter variable. So that is why if we're going to print the value of letter, okay, we're going to run, so the output is 66. So meaning that the integer equivalent or the ASCII code equivalent of B is 66. Let's try the uppercase A. Okay, the uppercase A is actually 65. What about the lowercase a? The lowercase a, the ASCII code equivalent is 97. Okay, for example, as uppercase C. Okay, so we have 67. Again, uppercase C. Okay, 67. So that's how we do it. Okay, now another syntax of ORD. Okay, you can actually, instead of assigning, you can actually directly put this function with an argument, which is, for example, the letter, inside of the print method. Okay, and then you directly display that one. So this one is also a valid syntax. Okay, so for example, we had 67 for the C and then 65 for the uppercase A. Okay, now are we done? Not yet. Okay, now that we know the ASCII code equivalent of a letter, it's about time now to convert that one. Okay, from integer now, we want to display the character behind that value. Okay, and how are we going to do that? In Python, there's also a built-in function, okay, or method. This is what we call the CHR. Okay, you just need to put inside the parentheses the variable, okay, or letter that you want to convert. Okay, from this time from integer, from its ASCII code equivalent to a letter. Okay, so you can put this one inside of the print function. Okay, and then when we run, so that letter now, for example, we have C, right? And we assign the 67 to letter. And then once we use the CHR, it will now display the character, okay, of that ASCII code equivalent. Okay, now another example, what if you're going to ask the user to enter a letter? Okay, so it's very simple also. Instead of, for example, normally in our previous episode, we use the int here, okay, the type conversion, right? Because every time we enter, for example, even if it's a number, let's say if we enter 1, okay, for example, in here, enter a letter. For example, I just want to enter 3. Okay, 3. Even if you type 3 there, by default, Python will consider that as a string. So that is why if you want to use this 3 for addition, for example, okay, we need to convert from string to integer. That's the reason why we use the int function before we assign to a variable. As you can see, the letter here is an integer variable. Okay. Now, in this case, if we are going to get the letter, okay, like for instance, if you want to uh, enter a letter, we will not convert this, okay, to become an integer, but our goal is to get the ASCII code equivalent of this letter. So that is why instead of int, we will be using the ORD here. Okay, and then that's the time that we assign to letter. So for example, that is 65. You know that the uppercase A is 65. So that would be now the value of letter. So that's how we get the user input. Now, knowing this ORD function, okay, and then CHR, we are now ready to display this type of format. Okay, so let's try. Okay, so let me just this one. Okay, let's try this one. How are we going to start? Again, from our previous episode, we know that this one is a combination of the rows and then the columns. Okay, so for instance, we have a row. We'll start the row from 1, and then we have a while loop here, while a row, for example, is less than or equal to what? While row is less than or equal to, it depends to us. For example, this one, let's try a 3 only. Okay, so and then after that we need also the column. Okay, so column is equal to 1, and then while column is less than or equal to what? To row, because as the number of rows increases, the number of columns also increases. So that's why our condition here is while column is less than or equal to row. As you can see, if we're going to trace this during the first iteration, the value of row is 1, the value of column is 1. So is 1 less than or equal to 1? True. So true, meaning inside of this inner loop, so we will loop once just to display the A. Okay, so meaning to say inside of the nested wide inner loop, so we'll print now the A. So how are we going to print the A this time? Okay, so based on this, okay, we will be using the what? We're going to print the A. Okay, so for example, let's try to use the CHR, and then for example, we have the letter here. Okay, let's try A, the character A. Okay, but since we have a letter here, so let me just delete this one first. Okay, and then we will just use the letter here. Okay, that's it. And then again, another parameter here, because if you want to print the CHR, okay, we want to have a space as the end instead of the default the new line of print. So that's the the way that we do normally. Okay, and then the increment of call, so we can just put here call plus equals and then 1, and at the same time after that we will also increment the row. Okay, so we have now a row plus equals 1. Okay, so let's try. And then before that, okay, before printing, we need to print the a new line. Okay, for the second row. So meaning before we iterate, okay, before we move to the next iteration, so we will print the new line by using only print. Okay, so we discussed this in our previous episode already. For example, enter a letter. We have A. Okay, so we now have A. Okay, so that is the output. Okay, now what about the second pattern? We have A, and then second row we have B and C, and then we have D, E, F. So if we're going to analyze this one, before we move to another row or another iteration just to print the B and C, so meaning to say we need to increment the value of the letter. Okay, so in other words, before in here, okay, we will be adding another assignment statement here, okay, inside of the inner while. So we will just put here letter plus equals and then 1. Okay, just to iterate, okay, the value after printing A. So the next value is a B, and then we have now C. Okay, let's try. So for example, I'll enter again A. So we now have A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F. If I'm going to modify the example of 5, so the output is, for example, again, A. So we now have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and then K, L, M, N, O. Okay, so that's it. Now, what about for the pattern C? We have A, B, B, C, C, C. Okay, A, B, B, C, C, C. Let's try to, for example, here. If you're going to print that one, A, B, B, C, 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 D, 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 E, 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 for example, during the first iteration in here, okay, of course, we print, for example, A, and then next iteration, okay, we will delete this one now because during the second iteration, it should be B, B, B. So that one is okay. If you're going to, for example, after the first iteration, we are going to print A, and then call plus plus, and then we have a new line. We are now in the second row. Okay, and then when we go up here, so row now will become 2. And if we are going to print now, the first output is B. But unlike in pattern 2, the next output is C. But in here, we need to retain the B. So meaning, if we're going to iterate another here to print another B, okay, to print another B. So meaning, there should be a change of value in our letter. Okay, so that is okay. Our letter we have. Let's try row minus. Okay, if you print a row, let's say 2. So 2 plus 2 plus the previous value of letter, which is for example 65. Okay, so we will just minus 1. Let's try. Okay, we're going to run. Let's say enter letter A. Okay, there we go. So we have A, and then B, B, C, 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 D, 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 and E, E, E. Okay, that's it. That's how we do it. The A, B, and C. Now, if you want to add a menu, let's say for example, we have enter number 1 if you want the pattern 1, enter number 2 if you want the pattern 2 or 3, for example. So let me just comment this one. Okay, I just want to show you what I prepared for you here. Okay, control D here. Okay, okay. So let me just run the modification that I did a while ago. Okay, so I have example if you want to insert the one that we did a while ago. So for example, you have a menu type 1 if you want to display this type of pattern, type 2 if you want this pattern, type 3 for example for this one. Okay, so we have now, or -1 to exit. For example, 1, okay, so you are required to enter the number of rows. So let's say for example 5, and then what letter is that? Let's say for example you want B. Once you press the enter key, so these are now the output, the B, 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 and then we'll ask again another input. Okay, so this one is like a menu. Okay, and then for example this time around you want the pattern 2. Okay, the number of rows, for example 6, and then the letter, okay, you want to start from A, for example. So the output, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, and then ask another input. Okay, so for example, this time around 3. Okay, you want 5 rows, and then you start from A also. So the output is you have A, B, 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 C, C, D, E, E, E. And then, okay, if you want to exit, just type -1. And then, that's it. Okay, so let me just explain to you what I did here. Okay, we just I just added here. Okay, just an added information or learnings. Okay, so we have an input statement. This one is uh, the menu. Okay, so this would serve as the initialization. Okay, as you can see, the input statement. And then here's my while loop, the outer while. Okay, so for example, while user input, this one is not equal to -1, so we prompt the user to enter the number of rows and then the number of letter, for example. I mean the letter, okay? And then we have three menu, right? The pattern 1, and then the pattern 2, and then the pattern 3. So what I did here is that I just used the if a statement. For example, if user input is equal to 1, so here's the code, okay, that we did a while ago to display the pattern 1. So if, for example, if you want the pattern 2, so I have here elif user input is equal to 2, okay. So here's the code also for pattern 2. And then for pattern 3, another elif, if user input is equal to 3, here's the code also for that pattern. And then I just put here else, just in case the user have entered numbers other than 1, 2, and 3, or -1. So for example, 0 or 4. So that is an invalid input. So the statement inside of the else will be displayed. Okay, and then since we are inside of the while loop, if you want, after we display the output, and then if you want to prompt the user again to enter another input, okay, so the this one serve as the increment. Okay, so instead of increment, we put here a input statement that would change the value of input. When we go up here and we test again the value of user input, so the user input, okay, depends now on the next input of the user. If it's -1, so meaning that's the time that we will exit. So that's how we do it. Okay, so if you have questions, clarifications again, just a comment down below. And that's all for today. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And as always, show your love through comments and favorites. God bless and thank you for watching.